John Bolton's the former U.S. ambassador to the UN and a Fox News contributor. I want to talk to you right now about what you think about this. I mean, are your expectations where Dr. Krauthammer's are at the moment?
I think his expectations for the president are a little high. I really don't think the president's heart is in this. I think he believes that not doing anything would be preferable because, as he has said repeatedly throughout his presidency, it's the assertion of U.S. power, he thinks, that inspires terrorists and jihadis to take up the struggle against the United States. He says the jihadis are on the wrong side of history. He'd rather leave them alone. But I think he has no choice here because of where American public opinion is.
And you can be right. American public opinion has shifted dramatically, as we just showed in that Washington Post poll with Byron York. But he said it last Friday when he left Wales at that NATO summit, and that New York Times story that was reported yesterday appears to flesh out as well. I mean, you can be critical, but it appears that there is a strategy that's coming together.
Well, it's a strategy to do very little and to do too late. The idea that it will take 3 years to do this is just flatly wrong. The moment to strike ISIS is right now, before they have consolidated control over territory. You know, Winston Churchill once said we should have strangled Bolshevism in its cradle in Russia after the revolution. That's what we should do to ISIS. We should not give it time to consolidate and mature. And when the president says he has a 3-year plan, or his leakers say he has a 3-year plan, isn't that convenient that the third year, when the really hard decisions will have to be made, occurs after he leaves the White House?
Why would the hard decisions come then? I mean, why 3 years from now? He said we're going to continue our airstrikes, of which there's been 150 already.
The airstrikes
You've got elections next week in Iraq, and then you go for the airstrikes, at least in Iraq, and potentially Syria after that.
The airstrikes have been insignificant. They have accomplished a very limited mission, and it gives the impression we've done a lot more than we have. We've done precious little on the ground, and every day that goes by, every moment the president hesitates, gives ISIS the chance to consolidate, and thus making it much harder to dislodge and destroy them.
You might be right that you're putting off the hard decisions until you're out of office. But if you get more videos of Americans being beheaded, you watch those poll numbers go from 70% to 90%. It'll happen quickly.
Well, it's like the famous quotation of the French officer who sees his troops running to battle and he says, "There go my people, I must follow them." That's what Obama's doing. But it's not because his heart is in it. This is not what he wants to do.
Big security issue here. FoxNews.com says this on the screen. The Wall Street Journal reports that U.S. officials are struggling to ascertain the movements of suspected extremists once they enter certain European countries, namely England, despite the fact that the U.S. and several European security services have developed close intelligence links. That is a critical point. 13 years now removed from September 11th.
Well, it goes to the question I think Americans are most concerned about 2 days before the anniversary of 9/11. How many of the people currently fighting with ISIS, have valid U.S. or European passports that make them one plane ride away from getting into the United States? We would have hoped that we had much better ability to track these people, but if there are hundreds, even thousands that we can't track, they will be able to leave the ISIS territory and go after targets in Europe and the United States. That is very worrying.
And you know, London thinks about that every day. Chuck Hagel said last week, we don't know the number. Right now, we simply do not know. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you, Bill.
John